You walk into your office and you find your security analyst there pounding on some drums, struggling to keep a good rhythm. The manager asks him, "What are you doing?" He says, "Oh, these are our new security drums. I'm pounding away to ward off the computer viruses." "Wow, is it working?" He says, "It must be. We haven't had any infections this morning." "Wow, that's outstanding." Just then a manager walks by and says, "We just had 2 new infections on the network." And the manager passes on some information, some recommendations. You really need to beat faster. Directors are wildly expensive with the little clapper thing. The good news is security's been around for a long time. The bad news is when we're talking about information security, it's relatively a new field. And there's a lot of problems and challenges within this field that just yet haven't been discovered or refined. So every day it's a new challenge. And security is a business of saving money. It's a business of preventing loss. Unless you're in the security industry or have a product or something, you're not generating revenue. We're an overhead business. Our entire focus is on preventing losses which occur because of security situations, security incidents. And those losses could be liability, lawsuits, operations downtime, so on and so forth. And so if we're only overhead, we have to make the right decisions in regards to spending. And if you can't tell me what value your product is in a dollar and cents way, there's no way of me knowing, am I spending the right amount? Should I be buying your product somebody else's? There's no comparison standards.
Why is it hard to measure effectiveness?
Well, from a metrics perspective, security is very, very different than IT operations or operations in general. The security industry is unique because to measure it, it's really an attempt to measure what doesn't happen. If you have a terrible security group, your organization is going to suffer. It's going to have losses. And at the end of the year, management's going to come back and say, "We experienced all these losses and pain. Why are we spending money on you?" On the other end of the spectrum, if you have a pristine security group and you do everything right, at the end of the year, you're not going to see very many losses. And management will come back to you and say, "We don't experience losses. Why do we need you?" So when you implement a security program, you're hoping something doesn't happen.
Well, they say hope is not a strategy.
Fear, uncertainty, and doubt can sometimes generate dollars, but hope is not a strategy. Return on security investment is, and it sounds like a technical term, and if you talk to a mathematician, it may be. The reality is, it's a decision of value. How do you look at a security program, initiative, process, policy, whatnot, and determine what value does it provide to your organization? Because it does cost something. It costs money, time, capital expense, something. What are you getting for your return on that? And it could be peace of mind. It could be reduced insurance rates. It could be more uptime for your factories. It could be preservation of your brand name, right? All these things are potentially in jeopardy by security incidents. Security programs, by their nature, very nature, are trying to prevent or reduce the impacts to that. That's what ROSI, return on security investment, really is. So management who have to spend the money on information security, they want to know that they're doing it in a cost-effective manner and that it's efficient. And typically they'll come and say, I have one of the 4 ugly questions. They'll ask, how do I evaluate these products so that I can choose the best one for my organization? How do I calculate what that's really giving me? Is it something I should keep? Is it something I should deploy? Should I expand it? What is that sweet spot? We're not looking for perfect security as in no security incidents. That would be wildly too expensive. What a perfect security program is geared towards is really finding that optimal level of security spending, the amount of loss that it prevents, as well as the acceptable level of loss, which is going to happen anyway, the residual loss, right? You can't protect against everything. Those three factors combined give you that sweet spot, and that's what a perfect security program is about. There are some methods out there to help people understand what the value is of a particular project or program or initiative. It's a matter of finding what are the key factors and determining what data that you have to play with. Only recently have organizations even started tracking security data, and without data it's pretty hard to make an analysis. There are tools, there are options. The environment within the computer industry is so chaotic, you may be doing something completely ineffective, but there's just a simple drop in the number of attacks, drop in the number of incidents, and you're giving credit to something that really means nothing. More security does not necessarily equate to more value. So there is a curve that has to be understood, and that's the challenge of measuring return on security investment. Intel has put a lot of focus and resources on information security. We are at our heart a research company and a manufacturing company. Protecting our intellectual property is of the highest importance, as well as maintaining our factory operations. If we can't get product out the door, we wither and die. So applying information security principles to make sure that happens is where we've been focusing the past few years.
Do you have any drums?
I need to get a pair.